Today we have Nakylah Carter, a sophomore journalism and mass comm student from Chicago. She is the host of the Chill Talk podcast, an editorial intern for the A&T Yearbook, and the VP of Alpha Lambda Delta Honor Society. She is one of the many up-and-coming stars of Crosby Hall, which is the JMC department at North Carolina A&T. So, Kai, I want to get it started by asking, how did your upbringing, in Chicago and a little bit in Texas, shape you to get involved in all these activities?
So basically, from an early age, my mom always told us, be active, see the world, do activities, do a bunch of things, basically make people remember who you are. So I take that very, very literally. Like kindergarten, I'm volunteering for Spanish clubs, and in elementary school, trying to figure out if I can do gymnastics. I was just going crazy growing up, and so was my siblings. And so I just basically, growing up, I guess I didn't really have a specific interest in journalism. I always wrote about things, but I kept doing a bunch of stuff, whether it be sports or theater, until I found my niche. And going into high school, sophomore year, I was able to be the copy editor of our yearbook staff. And that's where I was like, oh, writing is real cool. This is kind of cool. And it's fun because you can write about anything you want, and as long as it's obviously objective, but there's also a subjective side of journalism that a lot of people don't talk about, where you can spread positivity and good vibes basically to everyone. So I guess to answer that specific question, doing everything brought me to journalism.
All right, and so you obviously chose North Carolina A&T. Was there any other schools that you was looking at?
Yes. yes. Honestly, not to do too much, but I'm pretty smart. So I wanted to go originally to Ivy League, like Yale. And then after that, I was like, no, I'll go to LSU. I loved LSU. I like their culture. I have a younger sister. She was like, no, HBCU. And I was like, well, then I'm going to Spelman, or I'm going to FAMU. That was it. There was no other options. She started looking at A&T for biology and stuff like that, and she was like, Kylie, you need to really look at this stuff. And so I looked at it, and I was like, oh, their journalism program's kind of like that. And then my brother's best friend's an alumni from here. He's an engineering alumni, but I looked at it and I was like, oh, this is really cool. But I did not come on the decision that I was applying for A&T until junior year. This was never an option. I mean, I don't regret it, but it wasn't premeditated.
Now, obviously, 2020 has been, the year of COVID. You recently had COVID not too long ago. Explain what your symptoms were and the feeling of being, the feeling of having COVID as opposed to how you normally have a cold or whatever it may be.
So my immune system's not the greatest. So, I'm surprised I lasted this long without getting COVID. Well, I don't have COVID right now, but I'm surprised that I didn't get it sooner, I feel like. But the symptoms, okay, so I had the worst out of the people I knew of. My first day, I just felt body aches. I felt like I was just in the gym for 3 days straight, no breaks, no water. And I was my body was aching. And then I had sweats, fever. The highest fever I had was almost 103. The lowest one that I had was 101. It was not very good. I couldn't, headaches, body aches, very nauseous. A lot of people don't talk about the nausea you get. I guess some people get nausea, but I was basically throwing up stomach acid. Nothing was coming out. I wasn't eating anything. But after there were 3 days where it was really, really bad, and then came back, not came back, but I got tested. It was positive, and those when the worst symptoms had already left. But then I lost my taste and smell for a week, and I wanted to die. It was so bad. I couldn't taste or smell anything, and I realized it because I was spraying myself with spray, perfume, and I was just going in, because I feel like anybody who knows me knows I go in on perfume. And my mom goes, Nakylah, stop. Why are you spraying all that? And I was like, I don't smell anything. She goes, we need to get you tested. But that's how I found out. But it was horrible. That was for a whole week, and that was my worst symptom. But I guess to go on the second part of that question, I had just launched my podcast, And I'm the type of person, like, no, if I say I'm going to post at 12 on November 1st, it's going up at 11:59. Like, it needs to be up, and it needs to be good quality. It needs to be great. And so I already had interviews set up. I had a college relationships video that I did, and that was the one that I found that I needed to do the week I found out I had COVID. And I just was like, it don't even matter, bro. Set up that Zoom meeting real smooth. Everybody just humped on it. We had a great time. I was so tired doing the whole podcast. It was about an hour. Ended up being a podcast. Got off the podcast, went to sleep. I was like, I'm so tired. But, you know, I mean, the only thing that COVID really affected was I was very fatigued. I didn't really feel that motivated. But, I mean, at the end of the day, I was going to get it done, so.
You know, in 2020, it's wrapping up. Of course, it's been a turbulent year for everyone. How did 2020 affect your goals going in, you know, from 2019 to 2020? Did it stop you from doing anything that you wanted to, you know, do or work on? Or did it encourage you since you had all this, you know, free time essentially?
Right. So I will say that 2019 sucked, bro. That was not my year. But 2020, I started off strong. Like, I really thought this was going to be my year. Like, I mean, it has been my year, but I just really thought it was going to be my year. And so I was like, yeah, this is great. Semester started. I started getting all these positions on campus. People started noticing me. I was having photo shoots coming up. I had just landed being a fashion, like, not a fashion, but a model for fashion, etc. So I was going to be at a fashion show, modeling people's clothing. Like I said, I had all these photo shoots. I was getting, my grades were all awesome, and I was getting connections with internships, and it was going great. And then, you know, March came, and, you know, we had to leave campus, and it wasn't like I can necessarily further what I was going through or what I was doing on A&T's campus because I stayed in Texas. So I was like, no, I'm like really gone. I'm going, okay? And so I think it really halted a bunch of things that were really piling up. Like, I was really like in my bag. Like, I was going great, and everything just came to a halt. And I basically got home, and I was kind of just like kind of lost for a second. I was like, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing right now. And I always knew, like, I want to make a brand. I want to do something. I want to be like all the Crosby kids. And I have to realize, okay, this is my freshman year. Like, they don't expect for me to be like making my own brand, but I'm thinking like I'm expecting me to make my own brand. So I think in the summer I started trying to post more frequently on my blog and my YouTube channel, which my blog not so much, but my YouTube channel was going really well in the summer. In the spring, it was doing actually really well, and then I'm just not consistent. But then I had an idea. I've always had an idea to do a podcast, and then I got inspired by an assignment, and I was like, I need to do this. And so, if anything, 2020 has gave me time to work on myself and actually focus on the follow through of things that I feel like I wouldn't do because I'm always so busy and I'm doing a follow through of a lot of things, but I'm never doing anything that's big enough to, I feel like, make an impact in the long run.
Now, your Chill Talk podcast, you know, which I had the opportunity to be on a couple of times, you just said it was sparked by an assignment. That wasn't something you had thought of in 2020, you know, going into 2020 that you wanted to do?
No. I had wanted to do a podcast sophomore year of high school. Was when the first time I was like, I want to do a podcast. I didn't know what a podcast was. But in sophomore year of high school, I had a teacher, and my creative writing teacher, he was like basically showing us all these realms of things. And I started listening to a podcast just about, I play sports. So I used to, like, you know, just really just do a lot about, like, I just thought ball was life, and it wasn't. But I like started listening like sports stuff, or even I would even listen to like radio stuff, like, you know, Breakfast Club and stuff like that. And so I was like, oh my God, I want to do a podcast. And then that was sophomore year of high school. Then I was thinking like I got in my head, like, I don't know who's going to really listen to it. I don't know what I'm going to talk about. And then I was like, oh, my voice is so weird. Like, no one's going to listen to this. Like, who want to listen to this? And I was like, but I kept putting it on the back burner. But it's always been something that I wanted to do since high school. But it took an assignment where I was forced to make a snippet of a podcast for me to be like, okay, let me just do it. Like, we'll see what happens.
Now, this episode is titled On the Court, Off the Street, Star on the Rise. And that is because you're still just getting started. You just finished your first semester of sophomore year of college. So what are the goals you have set in place for the remainder of your collegiate career?
I don't know, man. I be trying to live it day by day. Let me think. I think that obviously I want to see where this podcast goes. I think the turnout has been great, like literally so good. Like this is my first season, and my analytics, because I use Anchor FM, my analytics are so good. Like I'm at like 400 listeners. That don't seem like a lot, y'all, but that's a lot for me. And so I was like, dang, that's crazy. And I got like people coming to me with opportunities, and it's just like, just me, you know? So I really want to see where this podcasting journey goes, because I've never even thought of being in the radio broadcast world until this has happened. Also would like to further my brand into not just a podcast, because my blog is also called The Chill Talk. It's the same thing. It's a cohesive nature, and I want to actually start literally forcing myself to write on my blog more, so I can gain more writing abilities just as much as speaking. So that's really what I want to do. But for collegiate career, I just want to make connections. I want to go wherever anyone wants me to go. Like, I mean, I just love journalism in general. Like, wherever I'm needed or whatever I feel like I can excel in, that's where I'm trying to go.
So you recently had a podcast with some of your friends from College Station. Explain that episode in particular, and talk about the feedback you got from that. How did that make you feel, the response you got?
So that podcast, I don't remember what episode it was. I think it was episode 4 or 5, and it was called Uncomfortable Conversations with a Black College Student. And I was inspired by this YouTube snippet called Uncomfortable Conversations with a Black Man, and he just invites Caucasian, or not just Caucasian people, but other people other than Black people onto their show, and opens the floor for a non-judgmental zone where they feel comfortable to ask questions that they may not ask on a normal basis. So I took that and I was like, okay, well, I go to HBCU, I'm a Black student, and I went to a predominantly white high school. So I was just saying, like, I know that like white people feel uncomfortable to ask questions, or I've been in situations where my white counterparts have said something and you can tell that their ignorance was the reason for them being disrespectful, not because of the fact that it was intentional. And so I wanted to open a floor to an unconventional podcast and make it a non-judgment zone, and kind of try to shed some light and knowledge on things that they might not have known. So I invited some people I went to high school with, and first they were a little skeptical, but then they were like, yeah, sure, like I'll definitely come on this show. And basically just opened the floor. It was a really nice episode. They asked questions that they didn't feel comfortable asking the Black community, or the Black community might be like, what the heck, how did they know this? But we're not of the same race, we wouldn't know things about them same way. And I just thought it was really nice. I think everybody needs a floor or somewhere like that to come and confide in, because how do we expect people to respect our race or understand our race if we don't give them the understanding they're seeking? I had a really good turnout for that episode. Like, it was really good. It consistently gets a lot of listeners. It's just really, it surprised me. I had people who went to my high school watching the episode. It also, expanded my audience to not just an HBCU Black crowd, like not this age, but now I have listeners of other races, other age range, people in different demographics as I am in, which is good for any type of journalism. And they would DM me or text me or Snapchat me paragraphs like, oh my God, thank you so much. This was a really good podcast episode. We went to the same high school, but we really didn't go to the same high school. Like, this is stuff that I didn't even know about. Or, oh my God, I realized when you said this, I do this, and I really need to change that by myself. Or, I love that you gave white people this opportunity to even come to you and ask questions without getting angry. So it just really made me feel good, because it was like people I didn't even know listen to my podcast, and they're like, this is just great, and this is so good, and oh my God. And I have a lot of people like, you should do a part 2 because there's questions I have. And it's just like, for sure. Like, I don't know, I just didn't think it would reach that many people or affect enough people for 4 or 5 people to text me and come to me personally and tell me that they enjoyed the episode.
And so I want to end it off with some news that you got before the episode. Tell me about that news, or tell the audience, I guess, about that news.
So basically, yesterday, Christian, better known as CDK, he is a host here at A&T, but he also hosts other HBCUs, and he actually is in partnership and works with HBCU Post, which is basically a social media platform that has a blog, website, and just a social media brand that promotes the unification of HBCU and just black students in the black community in general, just uplifts them with positivity and plugs them into good opportunities, whether it be scholarships or internships. So he tagged me an opportunity basically for if they were looking for podcasters and multimedia journalism majors and students or whatever. And I went ahead and I was like, oh my God, this is so cool. So I DM'd them. They DM'd me right back. They were like, oh my God, yes, like this is a good fit or whatever. They sent me the link, and it took me forever to fill out the link. I had some difficulties, but I filled out the application. He emailed me immediately. It was like, are you free tomorrow, which is today, to basically do this interview, and we want you on the team basically to be a podcaster for this HBCU platform, which has like 30,000 followers. Like, it is wild. Like, this is really intense, and it's a good step in the right direction for me. So like after this finishes, I'm gonna go on the interview. Hopefully all goes well, and then I'll be a podcaster for this platform.
All right, Nakylah Carter, sophomore JMC student, and like I said, on the rise, type star at Crosby Hall, doing big things. Is there anything you want to, say to end the show?
I would just say for all my Crosby Hall students, I know coming to A&T, especially because it's very STEM heavy, don't be discouraged. I don't know if you're anything like me. I came in August of my freshman year wondering, why don't people know me yet? Like, I don't know. I was so ready to hit the ground running and just be where I want to be, especially because I knew a lot, like upperclassmen, Crosby kids, and I was like, how do I get where they are? Like, I don't understand why. Like, I don't even know how they got there. First of all, ask, make connections, and your time will come. Like, everything starts off small. So that's what I would say. I'm Nakylah Carter, and this has been On the Court, Off the Street.